So when you're live in the classroom, you're actually going to use the block printing ink, which is a little bit different than the acrylic paint, and a brayer and a tray. So I'm just going to demo this process for anyone that's going to be live. But what I want to do is take maybe a toothpaste amount, like if you were to brush your teeth, is the amount of toothpaste. And because I know this is drying out, I'm going to add just a little bit of water because this is a little bit dry. And now I want to take my brayer and I'm moving the ink all over the tray. I don't really care about the tray. What I'm trying to do is get a nice even coat of ink on the brayer. So I'm rolling and lifting in one direction and the other direction. I'm not going back and forth because that's just going to cover the brayer in one area. So I'm going to go in different directions. Now I can tell I put way too much water on this. So to sort of clean it off, what I'm going to do is just get some scrap paper and roll it. So I'm just kind of cleaning off my brayer. I have too much ink on there, too wet. But now it's pretty nice and even. Now you can see here though, there's not as much ink. There's more ink here. If you want to come over a little bit closer, Skylar, just to watch. So again, I'm going to re-ink just to try to coat more on that side. Perfect. Because I have a lot of paper here, I'm just going to test it out. And you can see how it's a little bit uneven, but it's okay. All right, so now I need to constantly re-ink. You can see on the brayer, again, it's almost cleaned off. So I'm going to recoat my brayer, go in different directions. That's nice and coated. Now with scrap paper underneath, I'm going to go in different directions. First, I'm going to coat this way, and then I'll coat in the other direction. I'm going to go over it a couple times. This is the best way because you notice the ink is not getting in all those bumps. So I'll get a really nice print. Now for a practice print or a test print, I'm just going to take whatever scrap paper, go over it. And like I did yesterday, I'm just going to rub that and then peel that away. So you can see actually that means there's too much water in my ink because it's not sticking. Also, the first print tends to be like not a great print anyway, which is why it's always good to do a test print or multiple test prints. So I'm going to go back, and because I know there's a little bit too much water on my plate, I'm going to add a little bit more ink and spread that out again. So the hard part using the brayer is figuring out how much ink is too much and how much is not enough. And this can take days with my students. So I just tell them to just keep practicing, which is why I want to give you 2 full days to try to get a good print. And I'm just using this scrap paper to try to even out the ink. And I go in different directions because I could see the edge was missing some ink. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to try this again. Go back to this. Now I can tell that I need to get more ink coverage on here. So I'm going to go. I just keep going back and forth, covering my brayer. And I can tell there's too much ink on there. So I'm going to clean this off. Hi, Zach. Good morning. And then going back. Okay. So now I'm going to pretend I did a whole bunch of test prints and I'm pretty confident this is going to be good. Everyone at home, you all have one like a different colored cardstock. I don't know which color you have. I'm going to go with this green here because I think a lot of you have green. Now that's why I'm not so worried about all this background because this paper is the same size as my foam. So I'm going to try to lay that as carefully and do as much burnishing as I can. Now, I don't really care if I get ink on the back of this because that's not what's being graded. It's just the front. And actually, I'm going to move that so I can really get in there. You want to make sure you get the edges. Okay, so now when I peel this, oh, that looks much better, right? So it's just a matter of practicing. Now I have an extra piece, so I'm going to keep going and do an extra one. Let me just, we also have a burnishing tool. So usually if you add a lot of pressure, this will also transfer the ink. In the video, the guy had a tool. You could use the back of a wooden spoon. This will actually give you probably a better transfer, at least with the ink, because this ink is drying, right? So you can start to see that's my best print, right? So I have really nice black shadows nice midtones and highlights.